All right. We're back. 41 Sports Talk Radio, ForumRadioNetwork.com. I am the Benchwarmer here with the professor. What's happening, sir?
Everything is everything. Good to be back on.
All right. Well, with everything that's going on now, we got football. Let's kind of jump right into it. First week, Cowboys. We was going to discuss the Cowboys. First week, they lost 20-17 to the Rams. So we all know that. That's old news. This week, they played the Atlanta Falcons. And that game had so many emotion in it. I mean, from start to finish, the first fumble, what was you thinking?
The first fumble, I was pretty much thinking, it's, still early in the season. We're still trying to get a feel of the game. No preseason. I believe that first fumble was, wasn't it Dak?
That was Was it Prescott? Yeah, first fumble was Prescott.
Yeah. And I give credit where credit is due. I give credit to the defensive player that knocked the ball out of him. But I mean, my thoughts were, we're still in the season. We're trying to get a feel of the game. I didn't really think nothing. I didn't sweat it. It happens. Turnovers happen. Game in and game out.
Okay. I get the first one. Didn't sweat the first one. The second one, Ezekiel Elliott, who never fumbles. Where are we at now?
So the second fumble, Zeke initially fumbled the ball and got it back. And then I believe he fumbled again. And this time the same dude that caused the fumble with Dak was the same dude that punched it out of Zeke. And at that point, I was starting to get nervous because you had your superstars turning the ball over. One of the cornerstones of the organization or within the team itself creating turnovers. And I remember saying every time Atlanta got the ball back off of a turnover, they cashed in. And that's what you're supposed to do. They cashed in every single time.
So it's 14-0. We look like we're moving down the field, and then Dalton Schultz. Was that? Yeah, Dalton Schultz. Is it Dalton Schultz? Schultz fumbled the ball.
Dalton, as in Andy Dalton. Dalton, his first name. Schultz is his last name.
Schultz,
and
yeah.
And when that fumble occurred, I was thinking to myself, we're going to have a long day in the office, having 4 turnovers in the first quarter. Normally teams with that many turnovers to begin the game with most likely will have a hard time winning that game, even though we all know it was 3 more quarters to play. So when Schultz fumbled, I said to myself, we're going to have a long day in the office.
Yeah, so you got it. You got a Atlanta punch, Dallas punch. You got a fumble, then Atlanta turns around, throws a touchdown pass. You have another fumble. Atlanta turns around, throws a touchdown pass, 14-0. Then you got another fumble. Atlanta turns around and gets a field goal. You get another fumble. Atlanta turns around and gets a field goal. And this is, we're talking 3:04 left in the first quarter.
Right.
And then 3:04 left in the first quarter, and we're down 20-0.
Right.
And so I'm sitting there thinking, okay, and I never really, it's 3:04 left in the first quarter. I never necessarily panicked because you got 3 quarters left to play. And then Dallas comes back and scores a touchdown. I was like, okay,
right.
Now we're down by, what is it, 14, 15? Now we're down by 13. Okay, if we put this thing together, the thing about this game is Atlanta continued to answer every time we scored. Every single time we scored, they answered. I mean, it was, and the Cowboys, my thing with this right here, and we can stop here. My thing with the Cowboys is that defense is kind of suspect. The defense got some work to do. Because it's not like now Atlanta has some. They got some great receivers. Matt Ryan is a good quarterback. But the defense was not getting any pressure on Matt Ryan. None whatsoever. And so, how what do you think about that? How do you take that? The defense not getting any pressure.
I was never a big fan of Mike Nolan coming in here running plays. I think I talked about it with you a while back about his history in NFL as it pertains to a head coach and assistant coach. And he's, to me, an average defensive coordinator. And you're going from 3-4 to 4-3, which means you're asking DeMarcus Lawrence to have a different stance in terms of his defensive position when he's at the line of scrimmage. I'm still not sold on Mike Nolan. I know his history. He was with the Broncos. He was with the Packers. He was with several organizations for a reason. So we still have to give the Cowboys a chance to adjust to what he wants. I'm not sure if you're dealing with a 4-3 guy with 3-4 personnel. And to me, that's an issue with me because you drafted defensive guys based upon the scheme that Rob Marinelli had here over the past several years, and now you have people on your defensive team who were off of Marinelli's system, and now they're asked to do something different. You may have people or players within that defensive front that are flexible enough and are intelligent enough to go from 3-4 and 4-3, don't miss a beat, but then you have those that just it's going to take them time to get used to 4-3, like DeMarcus Lawrence. DeMarcus Lawrence is a 3-4 dude, so yes, him do 4-3 stance. So giving up 40 points in this game wasn't too surprising. And then in the LA game, of course, we couldn't stop Robert Woods for nothing in the world. It's going to take a while, and so that puts more pressure on the Dallas Cowboys offense to produce enough points to win football games. And I hate to say that because you shouldn't have to do that, but it's a give and take right now. But because this is Mike McCarthy's first year, this is his first year, his second game. Let's give him time to see if we can turn this corner as the season progresses.
Yeah. Speaking of Mike McCarthy, I'm gonna talk about the defense. Actually, DeMarcus Lawrence is a 4-3 guy. Mike Nolan is a 3-4 mindset, trying to do a hybrid defense. You see the Rams game where when they put the who's starting on defense, you only had Vander Esch and Jalen Smith, the two starters in the linebacking core in that first game. This defense is a hybrid defense. They're trying to figure things out. And I give you your point. We're used to having preseason games. You got 4 preseason games so you can work out the kinks. Now we don't have these preseason games. So, in my thought process for the NFL, these first 4 games are your preseason games. You got to get the kinks out. You got to work the kinks out. They're playing real football. So these 4 games to me are your preseason games. And so in your preseason games, you're going to patchwork. I mean, we didn't hear about we heard about Diggs all summer long throughout this training camp, but he didn't show up in the Rams game, but he showed up in the Atlanta game. So now you got to figure out, okay, how are we going to use him? Then you look at Adolis Smith, who was all over the Rams game, but he was kind of here hit and miss in the Atlanta game. So that those things got to come together. I look for the Cowboys to season's not lost. Put it all together and show us what you can do. The offense looked great. The thing with that is Mike McCarthy had at least 3 questionable calls in this game. The 4th downs, questionable. It's 4th and 5. And not only do you go for it on 4th and 5, you go for it with your punt team on 4th and 5. And not only do you go for it with your punt team on 4th and 5, you try to run them up the middle on 4th and 5. Isn't that questionable? Don't we have to have something to say about that? Is this Garrett 2.0?
No, absolutely not. I totally like I may not like the outcome of it, but you come into the team that has had or been sold on the Garrett way for almost a decade, if not over that. And now you have an NFL head coach who has been there, done that, been further than Garrett, have called plays like that before to his success and to his failures. And when you call plays like that, when you go in the Rams game, we was deep into Rams territory. It was fourth down. There was no hesitation to go for fourth down. If that was Jason Garrett, he would win for the field goal and got his 3 points most likely. But you changing the culture in the locker room, you changing the players' mindset that you sending a message, we are going for the win. We're not going to be conservative. He's not going to mention names, obviously, but this has been a conservative-minded team for over a decade because we was always either playing the tie, playing going to overtime, and you have a head coach that goes for the gusto. Now there's always going to be consequences if you don't make that fourth down. Well, you now have Atlanta in your own territory because you failed to do it. But I like those decisions. I like those choices he made because you're changing the mindset of this football team from where it has been over the course of 10 years. I have absolutely no problem with what Mike McCarthy did. And it looks questionable to everybody else. But remember what this organization has been going through the Tony Romo era into the Dak Prescott era, playing conservative football. And we always gripe them on all the time why Garrett didn't go for it on fourth down, why he just settled for a field goal, and then the team that had the ball next ended up going for a fourth down, score a touchdown, boom, the game is won. You may not convert on fourth down. The trick play to where the punter threw the ball, that should have been the first down, but the punter threw the ball short, and that's okay with me. Because when I saw that, I said, okay, Mike McCarthy is sending a message to this football team that we're here to win games. And he was doing everything he can to stop the momentum Atlanta had due to the turnovers that we had, resulting in the Falcons cashing in points. So you asked me if those are questionable calls? No, I like it, to be honest with you. But, I mean, if we keep having those calls and we're not converting, then you question. Then you have a problem. You have to go back to the woods and like, okay, when we make these calls, we got to make sure we execute because I'm sending a message to this team that we're here to win. This is why Mike McCarthy this is how you separate Mike McCarthy from Jason Garrett. You saw it in the first two games. You both know if Garrett had that 4th and 5 in that Rams game, he probably would have went for the field. That's the safest thing because he knows that's 3 points. But he kept doing it off and on throughout the years to where the opposite head coach on the opposing sidelines was more aggressive than Garrett. And as well, they won games against us because of those decisions. So I guarantee that 1 out of every 3 Dallas Cowboys fans wouldn't have an issue with Mike McCarthy making those decisions. So, no, it's not questionable to me. I like it.
Well, I hear what you're saying. It does send a message to the team that says we're here to win. Maybe you don't question going for it on 4th and 5, but maybe you question the play calling. On the 4th and 5 with your punt team, I wouldn't expect you to try to run it up the middle with your non-good players sitting on the bench. Your great players are on the bench while you at 4th and 5 trying to go for it. If you're gonna go for it and you don't try to fake go for it too, the pass, the Chris Jones pass to, I forget the cornerback's name. I like that because at least you're getting it out of the backfield. This right here, we stayed in the backfield on this whole thing. So there are going to be some plays that we question, But what I do like though is even though it is down by 20, they just kept chipping at it, and we got to talk about the onside kick. This is what separates the good teams from the bad teams. Because Atlanta had every opportunity to pick up that football. Every opportunity. And it was like it was 3 guys around that ball spinning, and they were just watching it spin. It's like they was waiting for it to go 10 yards before they can jump on it. They could have jumped on that ball as soon as they saw it. But they just watch and jumped on it. This is what separates your good teams from bad teams. Because you're supposed to know the rules, right? And you probably got somebody in your ear saying, stay away from it. So you get one person saying that, everybody else is going to do the same thing, thinking let's stay away from him until he gets to 10 yards, when they could have jumped on it, and they didn't do it, and the Cowboys jumped on it. And then so talk when you was thinking about that, talk me through that. What was you thinking?
I don't think it will define the Atlanta Falcons as a bad team. This is obviously a mental error on their part, and this is it may not be necessarily a coaching situation. It was a straight up mental error. You had a couple of players around that ball that was thinking, we can't touch this ball. We can't touch this ball until it goes 10 yards, when actually the Cowboys couldn't touch the ball until it crossed the 40. And I think just to keep it short, it was a mental error on the special teams players that allowed that ball to go 10 yards before they even consider touching it. I don't think that defines them being a good team versus a bad team, but one mental error like that obviously costs you the football game. So you have to go back into the film room or into the meeting room, and the coaches are saying, were you aware that you was able to touch the ball? Those type of questions was coming to play. I would think the Falcons as a team would have educated the Falcons special team players to know game situations, or to know momentum situation, to know situational football like that, to where if once Zuerlein kicks the ball, you are free to go after the ball and not allow Cowboys to get it. It's the Cowboys that can't touch the ball until it passes 10 yards, and you was thinking the other way around. But I think pretty much that was a mental error that really cost the Falcons the football game. And give kudos to Greg Zuerlein, who I couldn't have saw a better kick than that. I mean, it was a slow kick, but the ball just kept moving. And you noticed he kicked the ball without a tee. He did that for a reason. And that's what you call a situation kicker. Knew what he was doing. He knew how to kick the ball. He didn't want a tee for a reason. That's the way he kicks onside kicks, and he did it for a reason to allow the ball to spin and move at the same time. If anything, and I agree with Dak Prescott, because people was giving him the most credit for bringing the team back, but he straight up and said, no, this was a team effort. It was an effort on his part. It was an effort on Greg Zuerlein's part to kick the ball perfectly 10 yards like that. And most of all, it was an effort on C.J. Goodwin, who was the first one to pounce on that ball. It was a team effort. And then when you pounce on the ball, then Dak went to work and did what he had to do. And Greg Zuerlein again kicked the 46-yard field goal for the victory. So basically, it was a team effort. Everyone had to. Greg Zuerlein, C.J. Goodwin, Dak Prescott, Zeke Elliott, all those players contributed to that team effort that Dak talked about in the post game.
You had to buy into it. And the other thing is this right here is, could that have messed up the mindset of some of the players? Because you very rarely see an onside kick like that. Most times they're gonna kick it. Hopefully it bounces up and then it bounces in between the defenders, so you can get another bounce. But seeing it like that right there, could that have been one of those things that, okay, what is this right? What's going on here? Could that have been something that just messes your mind up? So okay, because you're right. There's a mental breakdown. But the way that ball was kicked could have been a part of that mental breakdown. It could have been a strategy that they was using.
Well, I don't look at the way the ball was kicked. I'll go back to fundamentals. When you saw where that ball was at without the tee was on the 30. As a defense on special teams on defense, you're saying to yourself, the minute he kicks that ball and there's no one around the ball, I should pounce on the ball without any Dallas Cowboys, without any hesitation. That's the Falcons' part, to secure the game. But they didn't think like that. On the Cowboys' end, they're saying, okay, Zuerlein is on the 30. We have to wait until the ball reaches the 40. Once it hits the 40 and there's no Falcons even looking at it, we're on it. So I go back to the fundamental and situational football. This was straight up a situational moment for both teams, to where that's where the IQ come in at. You were taught this in the classroom. If this were to happen, you need to do this. And the IQ failed for the Falcons, and the IQ was a plus for the Dallas Cowboys. This is where the IQ test come in. This is where the intelligence come in. This is where situational football come in. This is the situation where don't do this, but do that. If this happened, you do that. If this happened, don't do that. there was a critical moment in the game for the Falcons and the Cowboys, and you saw what happened in the end. So kudos to the Cowboys.
Speaking of kudos, we got to get into Dak Prescott played up. I mean, aside from the fumble, I think he played an outstanding game. I mean, 450 yards passing, 3 rushing touchdowns, 1 passing touchdown, no interceptions. You know, I think he played a really good game. And the comeback, he's got 16 comebacks in his career at this young age. There's only 2 other players, which is Cam Newton and Culpepper, has more comebacks, more 4-quarter comebacks than Dak Prescott right now. You know, I think he played a phenomenal game, and I think he's just showing everybody on a consistent basis why he is America's team. He's the number 1 quarterback for this game, for this team. And his name is going to start being mentioned in the Drew Brees and the Tom Brady's and the Russell Wilsons. I think it's going to be sooner than later that his name is mentioned with those players. What do you think?
Well, don't forget with Dak signed the $31 million franchise tag, and now he's saying to himself, "This is my opportunity to prove you guys that you should assign me to a long-term contract." And he's off to a great start doing that. And then when you have a dude that has not 1, not 2, but 3 rushing TDs and the passing TD, along with 450 yards passing through the air, along with no interceptions, you can't ask for anything better than that. I know he fumbled, but who don't fumble? You know, so.
Right.
With that being said, I think Dak is saying, "Yeah, I got my 31 guarantee, but I'm gonna show y'all that I'm worth a little bit more than what you have in your mindset." So again, he's playing on the last year. After this football season, he's practically a free agent. I surely don't hope the Cowboys are considering franchising him a second time, because I think that would be a disservice to him at that point. But there's nothing else for Dak Prescott to prove, and I go all the way back to 4 years ago with that. I remember saying on this very show 4 years ago when Tony Romo got hurt. Well, no, before Romo, he got hurt in the
preseason game, Seattle game.
His first, and Dak Prescott starting the preseason against the Los Angeles Rams. He got to throwing the ball, and I was saying, wow, this dude looks good. And then I went on Facebook and I said, "You looking at your starting quarterback for the Dallas Cowboys?" And I got flat out. I got practically quote unquote cussed out for saying that. I'm like, dude, you know a good quarterback when you see one.
When you see it, yeah.
And I go back to that Rams game 4 years ago in the preseason when he started throwing the passes to Dez Bryant and Terrence Williams. I mean, he was just hitting them spot on. And you couldn't have said that with Cooper Rush. You couldn't have said that with any other backup quarterback we had. It was just something about this dude. I'm like, this dude here got an it factor. And I said it prematurely. You looking at your starting quarterback for the Dallas Cowboys with Tony Romo on the team at the time. And here we are 5 years later, and he's about to be one of the top highest paid quarterbacks in the NFL, I think, within the next year or two. So kudos to Dak Prescott, and you will have more games like this in the future. And then he has CeeDee Lamb, then he has Michael Gallup, then he has Amari Cooper, then he has Zeke Elliott, then he has Kellen Moore calling the plays, in which Kellen Moore led a no one ranked offense last year, which is one of the reasons why Mike McCarthy allowed him to call plays. And I think that was a good move on McCarthy's part to not disrupt the chemistry that this team had offensively. So I'm just going to say the Cowboys should win the NFC East. I mean, because the East right now is horrendous, and I think Dak will be the main reason why we win the East, despite the defensive flaws that we have.
I was going to say, I think the Cowboys should win the NFC East, but they're gonna win it one of two ways. Number one, by default, for who the NFC East is, you got a sorry Washington team, a sorry Philadelphia team, and a sorry Giants team. Giants just lost Saquon Barkley. And yeah, I know they picked up Devontae Freeman, but you can't replace Saquon Barkley with a Devontae Freeman. Washington is just, they don't even know their last name. Washington needs to get a mascot or something like that. So they're Washington football team. So, and then Philadelphia, who was up on Washington 17-0, still lose to Washington, and then you come to the Rams and lose to the Rams. So the Philadelphia team is not necessarily that good either. So you win the division for the Cowboys, one by default, but two by what I believe that the Cowboys will start putting together as the season goes on. As the season goes on, they're going to find their legs. And as they find their legs, they're going to be part of more of a stronger team. But let's go back to, let's talk about CeeDee Lamb. He came out of OU, number one receiver. I don't know why he was passed up to fall to the Cowboys at 17, but he did. But these past two games, he has shown he's not scared to play. He's not scared to go across the middle. He's not scared to play. And the Atlanta game showed that he wasn't scared. I'm gonna come in there and I'm gonna give you everything I got, and I'm catching everything. And CeeDee Lamb he's gonna be one of those receivers. I mean, when Amari Cooper said we may have 3,000-yard receivers, you got to believe him, right?
Yeah, I think CeeDee Lamb, the first two games, I said this dude here is for real. This you can just tell by how he run his routes.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what worries me about CeeDee Lamb, he has a thin frame. He's pretty thin, but he can move. He can move, and he's a great route runner. What I'm afraid of right now, not to get ahead of this conversation, is we're not going to keep all three wide receivers due to money. I just get this feeling that CeeDee Lamb might end up replacing Michael Gallup in a couple of years because I don't think Jerry was willing to pay three wide receivers, top wide receiver money. And I think Cooper stays, and I think Gallup may end up going. I hate to say that, but I kind of see the writing on the wall. When you draft CeeDee Lamb and you know he's going to produce, Michael Gallup have already produced, he's going to be asking for more money in the next year or so. Amari just got paid.
So he's going to be here for a while.
Then you just pay Zeke, and then you're about to have a huge contract extension with Dak Prescott. I see that coming. I just don't think there's enough money around. So I think I say that to say that enjoy what you see on the field right now, because you might not see it. You might not see it in a year or two. And having CeeDee Lamb, Michael Gallup, and Amari Cooper, and Zeke as a receiver out of the backfield, my God, man. But CeeDee Lamb is we had this the Cowboys had this mentality, you draft the best player available when it's your turn to pick, and I think they made the right move. And historically speaking, in the Garrett era, it wasn't about you drafting the best player available when it's your turn to pick. You draft based upon need. And that works sometimes, and sometimes it just don't. So again, when you have a new sheriff in town, and that's the way he drafts, you draft the best player available, and you just added a shot to the Cowboys offense, adding CeeDee Lamb. And Lamb, I think, is going to have a 1,200 to 1,300-yard season along with Gallup and Amari Cooper. And yes, you will have 3 1,000-yard receivers the way Dak is passing the ball around.
He replaces Randall Cobb, and he replaces Randall Cobb and Cole Beasley. And so you got a stellar offense. This offense is going to be explosive. It's going to be extremely explosive, and it's showing that right now by the way they just came back. And in the whole game, did you see any panic in the Cowboys?
No, none whatsoever.
None whatsoever.
None. Again, I go back to we're in a different culture, Cedric, and Mike McCarthy has set that precedent for this team. It's a different feel. I saw people on social media saying the Cowboys are losing. Gary might as well have stayed. I'm like, really, man? You're not even giving this team a chance. And I saw those type of comments. I'm like, these people don't know what they're seeing. I can see the new culture. I can see the new attitude. And then someone threw up a statistic. Mike McCarthy has yet to lose at AT&T Stadium, and that's a true fact. He have yet to lose in the stadium, and they came back and won 40-39. And I think you have a head coach that knows and understands what home field advantage really means. and there's always a possibility that the Cowboys will be hard to beat at home as long as he's head coach. But the culture has changed around here, and you can see it in the first two preseason, in the first two regular season games. Mm-hmm. So you can tell Garrett it has no hands on this team whatsoever with this climate change. I call that climate change because the attitude is different.
It is. And the players are taking on the coach's attitude. You know, he's not clap happy. He's not the clapper. And even the way he talks in his press conferences are totally different. It's not methodical. It's not a robot type thing. He's just saying what he's got to say, and he's getting it out. Mm-hmm. I like the fact that they came back. I'm ecstatic the fact that they came back and won that game. Because how would this conversation have gone had they lost this game? I mean, it would have been a whole totally different conversation had they lost the game. It'd have been like they've been 0-2, mm-hmm. and you got to come back from an 0-2 situation, and then you have Seattle coming up next. So you could possibly have gone down 0-3. We hadn't picked the Seattle game, but there's a possibility that you can start the season at 0-3, and that's not necessarily good.
Yeah, I don't think you want to go into the Seattle game with the way Russell Wilson is playing, by the way.
Yeah.
0-2. And I was thinking about that as we were losing that Atlanta game. I'm up for like, how do you go into Seattle with the way Russell Wilson has mm-hmm. played? This is before what we saw Sunday night, where he after he threw that pick six, and it wasn't his fault. After he threw that pick six, he just started throwing touchdown passes left and right. Mm-hmm. And then you're dealing with a team where the quarterback himself, Russell Wilson himself, said he feel like he's the best quarterback in the NFL, and he's playing like it. He's playing with that type of confidence. And mm-hmm. you're the Dallas Cowboys, and you're saying we can't go into Seattle 0-2. So, and this is the beginning of the Mike McCarthy era. You sure don't want to go into it 0-2, even though we've seen 0-2 teams before to come back and end up making the playoffs, even winning the Super Bowl. We saw that before. So that's what I'm saying. Even if we had went into Seattle 0-2, there's no reason to panic. If we're starting the season 0-5, okay, yeah, it's time to panic now, because you shouldn't start the season losing 5 straight games with a brand new head coach who has won a Super Bowl and know how to win. So, yeah, next week is going to be very interesting. Dak Prescott versus Russell Wilson, two of the premier quarterbacks in the NFL right now.
Yeah. So for those that are keeping score, and we talk about the defense, the Cowboys defense. You know, the first 3 or 4 possessions, they really started on a short field. 22 yards touchdown, 52 yards touchdown, 16 yards touchdown, a field goal. So, and you don't take those things away because they happen within the game. That's just part of the game. You take those fumbles away, and does Atlanta get to 40, get to 39? Because after that, they kind of, you know, they was going back and forth. It was like a boxing match. They was going back and forth. After the Cowboys kind of started bringing themselves back and the defense started standing up and stopping and making them punt, then it became a boxing match, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And this shows, number one, it shows a testament and fortitude of this Cowboy team and never quit, never say die. But it also shows a testament and fortitude of Dak Prescott. Says, I'm never quitting, I'm never dying. There's a couple of times we saw him on the sideline when he just had that blank face on. You know, I don't know what those blank faces mean. Hadn't got adjusted to those blank faces. But I remember we had a coach who always had blank faces. Tom Landry stayed blank faced. You didn't know if he was happy or sad. You don't know what was going on in his head. He had this blank face. But the Cowboys steady, kept winning. You know, so I'm going to look forward to the Seattle game, because in the Seattle game, Dallas always plays Seattle tough. You know, for the past 4 or 5 years, there's never been really a runaway. Now, the way Russell Wilson's playing, he's got DJ Moore's receiver. He's got Metcalf. He's got some receivers. He's got Tyler Lockett as a receiver. You know, he's got some players.
No. DJ Moore's with the Panthers.
Okay.
You said DJ.
Yeah,
Moore.
I mean Metcalf.
Metcalf.
He's got Metcalf, and he's got Lockett. he's got some weapons, and so it'll be interesting to see what he does against the defense. This defense that let Diggs step up a little bit. Don't know what they're going to do in that safety position. Joe Thomas is the only linebacker that I've seen for the Cowboys that's really step up, because you really hadn't heard a lot from Jalen Smith. So I'm not sure what's going on with that. And I don't know if they're running a third linebacker out there or not. And I need to see some pressure from that front line. That front line has got to get that pressure. Aldon Smith, DeMarcus Lawrence. You got to get who is that? Griffin. You got to get pressure on the quarterback. But even if you get pressure on Russell Wilson, he still runs out of that pressure. And they don't have linebackers to contain Russell Wilson. So it's going to be an interesting game. It'll be an interesting game. We will pick those games a little later. Any games to you that stood out this weekend? The New Orleans,
the Monday night game. Yeah. The Monday night game stood out. Las Vegas Raiders. Have to get used to saying that, but they are starting the season 2-0. They beat the Saints, pretty good team. Even without Michael Thomas, you still have Sean Payton and Drew Brees at the head of that offense. That game stood out to me a lot. The Buffalo Bills, even though I played Miami, I tell you, Josh Allen is playing out his mind. And now you have Stephon Diggs as a main receiver. And people laugh when Cole Beasley went to Buffalo when he left Dallas. He's got to be feeling giddy right now because he's in a good situation. One game that stood out and they lost was Minnesota. Minnesota is just looking as bad as they can get right now. Stephon Diggs is no part of the offense. Kirk Cousins threw 3 picks. He was only 11 or 13 for barely over 100 yards with 3 picks, no touchdowns, no Stephon Diggs. They only have Adam Thielen to throw to. I think that Minnesota's regressed.
And I would have thought their defense was going to stand up.
No,
Minnesota's defense is just not looking good at all.
The whole football team is not looking good right now. It's a mess right now. But if anything, that Monday night game stood out to me the most. Las Vegas, I like the way they look so far.
Yeah. What about the New England Seattle game?
Oh boy,
Seattle 35-30, and New England had a chance to win the game. It's fourth and whatever goal. 4 seconds left in the game. Cam Newton, they take a quarterback give. Cam Newton jumps. I understand, why did he dive from the 2-yard line to get into the end zone? As big as he was, he should have just pushed the ball forward to get in. But I think you see quarterbacks making certain mistakes in their careers. And Cam Newton, as good as he was throwing that ball, there are mistakes he makes that goes against his team. That's why I've never really been a Cam Newton fan, because he will make some glaring mistakes. Like, he should have just, if you're gonna do a quarterback give, it's going to quarterback sneak, push the line. You 6'2", 6'3", 2 something, push the line with your body, because he had to block him.
That's one of the reasons why he did what he did. I think he was taking advantage of his 6'3" frame. And, of course, he portrays himself to be Superman. Right. So, I think
can't get stopped.
To answer your question, I think because he's such a tall quarterback, he felt like he can be able to just jump from his position the way he did. But he should have did the way you suggested. I think they would have a better chance of pulling away with a victory.
Yeah. You take your big body and you push everybody forward. And the fact that they got down there with Seattle, and it was right there, they had every opportunity to win that game. Every opportunity to win that game, they just didn't do it. They just did not do it. And that's when your coach takes your quarterback to the side and say, hey, use your skill set at the time you need the skill set. You didn't need to dive. You could have pushed it forward because you had to block him. The moment he left his feet, he has no control. So once he leaves his feet, then somebody's gonna get under you like they did. So that was a good game though. That was a good game, is what I saw, because I fell asleep a lot on that game a little bit. What about the Pittsburgh-Denver game?
The outcome didn't really surprise me. It's a normal AFC game, and good to see Roethlisberger back. Mm-hmm. You can really tell that with the quarterbacks they threw out there last year, how much they needed Roethlisberger at 37, 38 years of age, and still still have a heck of an arm. It was nothing really surprised me about that. I don't discount Pittsburgh being a playoff contender this year, as long as Roethlisberger is healthy, and you still got Juju Smith-Schuster back there, and you have James Conner, who's starting to be injury prone, by the way.
Yeah.
Mike Tomlin's head coach, he's still back there calling the shots. So, and then Drew Lock sprained his AC joint this shoulder. He'll be out a couple of weeks. So, not expecting Denver to be a threat to anyone this year. And Pittsburgh, as long as Roethlisberger is back there, they're always a threat.
Yeah. What about all these injuries that we're having? I mean, half of San Francisco team is pretty much out.
Well, there were reports from players that they were complaining about the playing surface at that stadium, which I don't think necessarily that could be the case, because ACL injuries and injuries all over the league. Mm-hmm. I think this is due to the pandemic.
Yeah,
you train a certain way when there's no pandemic, and what the pandemic has affected your football life in terms of how you train, how you keep your muscles, in shape, basically. Mm-hmm. And how you stretch and how you go about normal OTAs with no pandemic. Mm-hmm. But with the pandemic, everybody had to do things different. They had to train differently. And I think these ACL injuries are a pandemic-related situation. They're going at full speed when the offseason was affected by the pandemic. So I think the ACL injuries mainly is because, you were in shape, but you wasn't in football shape.
Right.
As if you go in the training camp, go in the OTAs and train the way you do, but instead you couldn't be around nobody. You have to train the way you would normally train at your own house, or been away from people at least 6 feet away from folks. So I think it's pandemic related. And I thought about that all week, and I'm like, these injuries are because we didn't have a normal off season where we train like we normally do.
I think it's that, and I also think it's no preseason games. I think that has a lot to do with it too. Even though the starters don't necessarily play in preseason, but remember, you used to have the first 2 games, all your rookies are playing. You're trying to see who's good, who's not good. The third game is your dress rehearsal. That dress rehearsal was more important than anything else. And I think that even if you don't have preseason games, I think next year you at least need to have a dress rehearsal. They need to get back to dress rehearsals. Let's do some hitting. I've always said that if you practice careful, you're gonna play careful, and you're gonna wind up getting an injury. You're gonna wind up getting hurt because you're too careful. Play the game like it's supposed to be played. And I think this pandemic can stop you from playing the game like it's supposed to be played. So now when you get in there and somebody else is playing hard and you're not playing hard, you're gonna get hurt. And I think you're right. I think that like the Saquon Barkley injury, I didn't even see that. I look at that hit several different times, I'm trying to figure out how do you tear his ACL with that hit? Were you able to look at that hit and see, okay, how did he tear his ACL?
I think his ACL his knee just gave away at a certain position. And I also think about the being too careful part. I don't apply that to situation. I think you going full speed in a real life game, but you wasn't going full speed during your pandemic related workouts. You were being careful in your workouts so you won't injure yourself. But I don't think you necessarily went game speed in your workouts because for the fear of tearing something up or for the fear of getting injured, and you weren't in a live game, and now you're in a live game, you're going full speed. Yeah, you're fit, but were you going full speed workouts and OTAs as you're in a live game? And I don't think with some NFL players they didn't, and now you're in a real live game, a la Blake Jarwin, who tore his ACL up against the Rams on a simple comeback route,
right?
And he came up and he just tore his ACL. I think the opposite. I think the full game speed is injuring these players because you didn't go
You're not used to it
in your workouts due to the pandemic. You train the way you would normally train, or the trainer, but you're not around players. You're not in game situations early on in the pandemic when you started OTAs or your own OTAs, and then with no preseason games, you were on Ford Field in Frisco, and we can't really tell what was going on because, I mean, if the cameras were not there for you to see it, then you can only estimate what may have gone on. But there's too many walkthroughs. But out of all the injuries in the NFL this past 2 weeks, most of them are ACL injuries. The anterior crucial ligament is what I call it. I can't get the C word right, but there's just way too many. Yeah, there's just too many injuries right now, and the ACLs are on top of the list. So I don't know. We just have to see.
There's going to be more. Christian McCaffrey's out for 4 to 6 weeks now because he got a high ankle sprain.
Now his injury and Michael Thomas's are ankle injuries. I mean, it's still a leg injury. ACL, part of your leg, your ankle, part of your leg. And I believe McCaffrey, he injured himself scoring a touchdown. He fell on the ground and he stayed on the ground. He was hesitant to get back up. I think he knew then he had hurt himself. And I mean, and most of these injuries are situations to where the player was barely hit or there wasn't too much contact there.
Not a lot of contact, yeah.
And when I see that, I'm like, okay, these soft tissue injuries are beginning to be a concern. Now you have to think about when the pandemic started, how they train. I still say all these injuries are pandemic related. Because
and you're right, because of the way they train. And they didn't train for football shape. They just trained just to keep their bodies toned, keep themselves in shape. But then when you go on full bore, and you got an opponent, and remember too, though, is that, in OTAs, before the pandemic, they used to train with other teams. And so other teams was trying to gun for you too. So you can't come in there soft. Now they don't train with during this pandemic, they couldn't train with other teams. They had to train with themselves. So they're not trying to hurt each other, anything like that. They're not trying to go hard at each other. So you're not going to get that natural football hit that you would get, And so now two games in, and you taking some punishment now, and this punishment is costing some things. So I don't know. It's just interesting to see a lot of these injuries that's going on. Last year San Francisco was the least injured team. This year, everybody going down, which is kind of crazy to me, but it is what it is. Go ahead.
I was going to say now the 49ers, they're coming from a different front. There were reports that they were complaining about the playing surface, and they were concerned about the type of grasses out there. And you have, I believe, 4 or 5 players in that one game from the same team with leg injuries. So, I mean, I have to see what comes out of that complaint, but they were saying basically they were concerned about the playing surface at that particular stadium for San Francisco.
Speaking of complaints, I'm going to jump the subject real quick. What about the NFL fining John Gruden and Sean Payton for not wearing your mask? And I think it's like $500,000 or something like that.
It was $100,000 per head coach.
Yeah.
The NFL's clear sending the message. The NFL don't want to be they don't want to be a league to where they have to suspend play due to the spread of the virus. Okay.
Right.
They don't. Now keep in mind the pandemic started a month after the Super Bowl. So the NFL wasn't too much affected with this pandemic throughout the entire offseason. They got to sit back and watch Major League Baseball, the NBA, the NHL, the Major League Soccer. They sat back and saw what happened to those leagues. They learned from that, and they went into this particular season with no holds barred. You don't wear your mask, you're gonna get penalized because the NFL, the NFL is king, and we don't want to be a league that has to suspend play like some leagues did just because we had some type of virus amongst a lot of them or something. The NFL is very fortunate that they're the last league to come into play because they had a chance to sit back and watch how other leagues either benefited or did not benefit from the pandemic. And they learned from that and they said, okay, this is what the NBA did. They got this bubble going on. We saw what happened with Major League Baseball, the where they had to suspend play at the very early part of the season due to hard-headed players not taking the pandemic seriously. Still want to walk around the dugout with no mask. Still, if you didn't feel too well, you felt like you felt good enough to get to the stadium knowing that you wasn't feeling too well. And you have some knuckleheads that caused that to happen. And as a result, Major League Baseball had to suspend play temporarily to get that. Not the whole league, but some teams. Right. Some teams. I believe the Marlins.
Yes,
the Marlins and the Mariners in particular.
And Philadelphia, I think, too.
The Phillies. And so the NFL looked back and they just got the notepad pen, check mark, X mark, check mark. They're watching. So now you have NFL head coaches on the sideline. They got the mask around their neck, but they're not wearing it over their nose and their mouth. And they're on live TV. So Mike McCarthy definitely wearing his. We have yet to see him without a mask. He's always had his on the whole time. But that's what the NFL is doing, sending a message to the league. You don't wear your mask, you're going to get penalized. We're not going to be a league. We're going to play these 16 games. We're going to have a playoff system. We're going to have a Super Bowl with no interruptions, and we're doing everything we can to make sure everybody is safe, and you're not helping the cause. So we're going to find you.
And the best way to send it is through the coaches. Send it to the coaches first because y'all not wearing your mask. The head coach, I don't care who you are, we getting you. So I agree with that. I definitely agree with that. We're almost at that time. One last thing before we move on to our NFL picks. God, I forgot the other last thing. Oh well, I had it in my head. Anyway, let's go ahead and move on to our NFL picks. But I do want to mention one thing though. So today, this week's winner in the NFL pick segment is Security. She had 15 of 16 right.
Wow.
You know the game? You know the game she lost? She lost the Saints. No, the Saints game.
Oh, the Saints, okay.
She lost, yeah. So she had 15 of 16 right. So kudos go out to Security. And now she's the leader of the pack. Let's see. Let me get that. Let me get the standings. Yeah, Security is the leader of the pack. I'm second, and you're third. Well, actually, me and you're tied.
Okay.
Yeah, you and I are tied. We both had 25 wins, 7 losses.
So I was 12-4 last week, and he said 25 and. Okay, what was my record this week?
This week you were 13-3.
And last week I was 12-4.
Yep, that's 7 losses.
Okay.
Yeah, so we're second. We're running second. We're 3 behind security.
Wow. So what was the record last week?
Last week she was let's see, she lost she lost 3 last week.
So she was 13-3 last week.
Yeah.
Okay.
So this week what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna steal her where she getting the information from and see if we can share it online.
So she predicted the Raiders to beat the Saints. Wow.
No. That's the only one she lost.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
That's the only one she lost. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
That's the only one she lost. She picked everything else. Like everybody was picking Minnesota to beat Indianapolis. She picked Indianapolis to beat Minnesota. She was just pulling picks out.
I think I picked the Colts to beat them too. I just don't. I'm not high on the Vikings this year. I think I picked the Colts to beat them too. I no.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't see Minnesota. I don't see them going far this year. But kudos to security.
Yeah, I don't know where she was getting this from. Let's see. Let's see if we can go back to week 2. See what you picked. You picked.
I know I picked the. Oh, I did get the.
You picked Minnesota.
I picked the Cowboys.
Yeah, you picked Minnesota.
Okay. And I lost the Falcons and Cowboys. I know I picked the Falcons beat the Cowboys, and I can't think of the other one that I may have lost.
Philadelphia. You picked no, hold on. You picked Atlanta. Yeah, you picked Atlanta. You picked Minnesota. You picked Philadelphia to beat the Rams. That's your 3. You picked Philadelphia to beat the Rams.
Okay.
But hey, I only lost 2 games last week. I lost the Minnesota game, and I lost the New Orleans game.
Who else is on that list?
Let me just go down it.
Yeah. And this week only. For this week only.
Oh, the stand. Oh, week 2?
For this week. Mm-hmm.
All right. Let's go to week 2. Let's see. Hold on. Week 2. All right. So 49ers all day, which is one of Shelly's brothers. He had 14 points. So this week's winners, Shelly had 15. I had 14. Mm-hmm. 49ers all day, which is Shelly's brother, Jay had 14. My brother-in-law had 14. We had a lot of 14s. My nephew, Keith, had 14. You had 13. Uncle Larry had 13. Dr. Rock, who's on here, he had 13. My dad had 13. Kevin had 13. Alex had 12. My sister had 12. Philly had 11. Her other brother had 11. My nephew had 11. So if we were picking, if we were picking against the overall pundits, we was on it. And we was on it. We did pretty good. So this week,
okay,
we've got. Let's go here. Hold on, Carol.
You know, my brothers are your brother-in-laws.
I know. I just had to. This week we have. Let's go first games first. Hold on, bear with me. Standings.
Okay.
Schedule. All right, here we go. Week 3. We had the 0-2 Dolphins at the 1-1 Jaguars. Now, Miami, let's see something. What did Miami do last? Miami lost. They 0-2.
Pull up my notepad because I'm actually doing.
Yeah, Miami lost to Buffalo. 28 to 30, 31 to 28. Jacksonville.
So you got the
lost to Tennessee.
You got the Dolphins against. You got the Dolphins against who?
At the Jacksonville Jaguars.
I'm picking the Jaguars.
Yeah, because the Dolphins just don't have it. And you know what?
But they should. They got Fitz magic. I'll never discount Ryan Fitzpatrick as long as he's quarterback. But they're off to a slow start. But you're gonna have a situation where Ryan Fitzpatrick is gonna bring the team back from the dead at some point this season if he's a starting quarterback. So
yeah,
that's only how it works.
Well, the thing is this right here. I don't think they should have gotten rid of Ryan Tannehill. I think they should have kept Ryan Tannehill.
That's a tough one because he's doing good in Tennessee right now. He needed a fresh start. I think he just needed a fresh start, basically. Well, I'm going Jacksonville to beat the Dolphins in Week 3.
Yeah, I'm going Jacksonville too. San Francisco, the 1-1 San Francisco 49ers versus the 0-2 Giants, and it's at New York.
Oh boy, this is a tough one. Jeez, Garoppolo is hurt.
Yeah, he is, isn't he?
Devontae Freeman is going to get some playing time. I'm going to Giants. I think it's going to be an upset. I'm going to Giants. Yeah. I think it's going to be an upset.
I'm going San Francisco because only offense the Giants had was Saquon Barkley. He's out for the rest of the year. You know, now Daniel Jones, you putting the team on Daniel Jones' shoulders. The question is, can he handle it without a Saquon Barkley back there? Because they really didn't have any other offense besides Saquon Barkley.
He got Jason Garrett as a play caller.
Again, that's why I'm going.
I'm just saying, Jason Garrett's not a bad play caller either. I'm not going to ever discount that.
Well, he's not unless he wants to coach his job. And so you know what he's going to do if he wants to coach his job.
Yeah. I'm going to Giants on this one. I got this gut feeling they're going to pull off an upset.
All right, I got San Francisco on this one right here.
Okay.
Chicago at Atlanta. Now, Chicago is 2-0, which is surprising.
Atlanta's going to get their first win in Atlanta. You can put that in the books. They're not going to start the season 0-3.
Yeah,
that's just my opinion.
Let's see. Who did Chicago? Chicago beat the Giants. They barely beat the Giants too, 17-13.
Mm-hmm.
And who'd they beat last week?
I don't have the ticker with me.
I got it in front of me right now. I'm gonna go see who they played last week. Let's go standings. Yeah, I'm surprised they're 2-0.
I'm not too surprised. I mean, you got teams 0-2. You're gonna have 2-0 teams basically. So it's no surprise. You may have 2-0 teams that end up 2-2. You just never know. You know. So
yeah. So last week Chicago played Detroit.
So Detroit and who's the first team?
They played Detroit last week. They won 27-23, and they played the Giants, and they won 17-13. They're barely getting by off of with some bad teams.
Chicago and Detroit. Just think about that. Chicago and Detroit.
Yeah,
I mean not Chicago and Detroit.
The Giants in Detroit.
The Giants in Detroit. I'm still going ATL.
I am too, because you're talking about teams that's really not putting up some big time numbers. And yeah, I'm going Atlanta. So we have the Rams. Next game. We have the Rams and Buffalo. the Rams
boy.
and Buffalo. Rams are 2-0.
And so is Buffalo.
Buffalo. Now let's break this down a little bit further.
I think the Rams are going to give Josh Allen fits. I don't think they'll shut him out because Josh Allen is playing lights out football. They are passing the ball a lot more than what they're accustomed to over the years. But I think the Rams and when you got Jalen Ramsey and Aaron Donald and on defense in the back there, that's not always an easy team to score on.
Now, granted,
it's in Buffalo, right?
Yeah, it's in Buffalo. Granted, though, yes, in Buffalo. But let's look who Buffalo has played, because they played Miami, and they beat Miami 31-28. And then who they play? I think they played the Jets last week. Yep, they played the Jets and beat the Jets 27-17. So it's not like they're playing just like some great teams. Now, having said that, the Rams played Dallas the first game. They won 27-17, and they just played Philadelphia. So you got two teams that are really not playing just great teams. They're both 2-0. It's in Buffalo. This is a hard one.
I'm going Bills.
This is a hard one. What's the Jets schedule? The Jets are 1-1. Yeah, nope. The Jets are 0-2. So Buffalo has played two 0-2 teams. And I guess Rams play two 0-2. Yeah, I think I'm going Buffalo.
And see, Buffalo beat the teams they were supposed to beat. Okay, yeah. So we gotta give credit to that. I know that who they played, but they're supposed to beat them teams.
And the Rams did the same thing. The Rams were the Rams supposed to beat Dallas?
Now, I wouldn't say that about the Cowboys because a lot of people were predicting the Cowboys to beat the Rams. As the Cowboys are not an easy team to beat if you talk to the Rams. So I wouldn't say that was a given for them to win that game, even though they did. But I'm going Bills in this. I'm on the bandwagon with Stephon Diggs and Josh Allen and company. I like that football team. They're playing some good football.
Yeah, I'm going Buffalo too. Here's one. The 1-1 Washington Redskins at the 1-1 Cleveland Browns. I'm sorry. Washington football team. I'm sorry, the 1-1 Washington football team. Now, in Washington beat Philadelphia. They came back to win to beat Philadelphia, and they lost to Arizona. And then Cleveland beat Cincinnati, which I thought that was a given. And they lost to, see who they lose to the week before. Yeah, I thought the Cincinnati Cleveland game was a given.
I'm probably going Browns in this game. The Browns at home, right?
Yes.
I'm going Browns to beat the Washington football team.
Can you say that with a straight face? The Washington football team.
The Washington football team. It's no different than saying the New York Football Giants, even though they have a mascot name, but you put football in it. A lot of old heads don't even call them the New York Giants. They call them the New York Football Giants. But the Washington football team, I mean, it is what it is. I'm going to Browns in this one.
Yeah, because the first game, Browns got the hats handed to them against Baltimore, 38-6. This game right here, the Cincinnati game, although it was 35-30, it wasn't as close as the score reveals. So here I'm gonna go Cleveland. And it's in Cleveland. The 2-0 Tennessee Titans versus the 0-2 Minnesota Vikings. It's in Minnesota. Does Mike Zimmerman start 0-3?
It's a possibility. And the way they're playing right now, they better get it together, or else he might begin to get on the hot seat here. But their offense look horrible right now. Their only safe haven is
Adam Thielen?
No, Dalvin Cook.
Dalvin Cook. Yeah, that's when he's playing. Let's see, they lost to. That's when he's playing. Because they start out so behind that it's all about throwing the football now. Yeah. Minnesota loses they lose to Indianapolis Colts 28-11, and that probably wasn't even close. And then they lost again. They lost to the first game of the season. They lose to who is this? Green Bay Packers, 34-43. Now there they put up points. They put up points on Green Bay, and I thought, okay, they put up some points on Green Bay, so they can come back and put up points on the Colts, but they couldn't do it.
Mm-hmm. Right.
I don't. On this one, I'm going Tennessee, because Tennessee, although they're 2, Tennessee is 2-0, and let's see who's Tennessee. Tennessee has played. Last week they played. Where did they play? They played Jacksonville, who's not that good. And then a week before that, they played. Hold on 1 second. Week before that, they played Denver, and they barely lost. So Tennessee's got some close games though. But again, we're talking preseason. They played Denver. They beat Denver 16-14, and they beat Jacksonville 33-30. And they're playing not a good Minnesota game. I'm gonna go. And it's in Minnesota. You know what? Minnesota will get their first win.
I think that'll be Tennessee for me. Minnesota's just not playing well right now.
Yeah, I'm going Minnesota. I think they'll get their first win. I don't see Zimmerman going 0-3. I think they get their first win. So the Las Vegas Raiders against the New England Patriots. Raiders are 2-0. The Patriots are 1-1.
The Raiders gonna get their first loss. It's all Patriots,
and it's in New England.
It's all Patriots. All Patriots. They will get their first loss as a Las Vegas franchise.
Have you picked against? Have you picked for them anytime? I mean, the past 2 games, or you picked against them?
Who?
You.
Who?
Have you picked against
what team?
The Raiders? These past 2 games.
Yeah, in the last game.
Did you pick against them?
I thought the Saints was going to beat them.
Mm-hmm. And who looks like a better team, New England or the Saints?
Oh boy. I would say the Saints will look like a better team, but I give the nod to the Patriots and Cam Newton on their own turf at home.
Because their defense?
No, Cam Newton. Cam Newton. Cam Newton, right.
Well, they got, the Raiders got a top rusher, Joshua
Jacobs.
Joshua Jacobs. Yeah, he's good.
He's real good.
And the question is, has New England faced a running back like that? They played.
But you still have Bill Belichick as a defensive-minded head coach. He has his ways of stopping their best player. as long as Bill Belichick's the head coach in New England, you're gonna always have a head coach that's gonna find a way to capitalize on your best player.
Yeah, but
That may not have been the case with in Seattle. But you rarely score 30 plus points on the Belichick-led team like that.
And lose.
Right.
Because it's in New England, I'm going to go New England.
Yeah, I'm Patriots for me all the way.
All right. Here's one. The 0-2 Cincinnati Bengals versus the 0-2 Philadelphia Eagles. I think this is where Philadelphia gets its first win.
I disagree. I like the Joe Burrow bandwagon. Yes, I like that. I like the way he played. I think the Bengals going to beat the Eagles and get an 0-3.
I do like Joe Burrows, but I think the defense needs some touch, some polishing up. And I don't see Carson.
Yeah.
I don't see Carson Wentz just flopping it like that. I see them getting somewhere this week. So I'm taking Philadelphia. Who you got? Cincinnati?
Oh, Cincinnati all the way. Yeah, I like that team. I think they'll come out with a win. This is in Cincinnati?
This is in Philadelphia.
I still think Cincinnati gonna beat them.
What'd you say?
I think Cincinnati gonna beat them.
All right.
Carson Wentz is regressing. By the way, he's not. Yeah. It's just I don't know what's going on with him.
Yeah, he's only good when he's got a solid backup behind him. That's why Nick Foles should have stayed in Philadelphia. Because Carson Wentz is as good as Nick Foles. He should stay in Philadelphia. Yeah. Here's one. We got the Houston Oilers, the 0-2 Houston Oilers versus the 2-0 Pittsburgh Steelers.
Who's against the Steelers?
Houston. The 0-2 Houston Oilers.
Houston Texans.
Yep.
The Texans, not the Oilers.
Okay, Houston Texans.
You said the Oilers.
I'm sorry. I'm old school.
So Houston at Pittsburgh?
Yes. Pittsburgh's 2-0.
That's gonna be a good one. Oh boy.
Yeah, let's give you some background on it. Yeah, because it's
okay.
Give you some background. Pittsburgh, you see they beat Denver 26-21 last week, and then they won. They beat they're 2-0, so they beat who is this? The Giants 26-16. So they hadn't had just some good, hadn't had any good teams. But they still won the games they're supposed to win. Houston's 0-2. Houston started out playing Kansas City. And that was
right.
Yeah, that was ugly. But then they played who did they play last week? Where are they? Who did Houston play last week? Houston played Baltimore. So they've had some tough games. And they lost to Baltimore 33-16. Houston has had some tough games, and Pittsburgh has not had tough games. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going Houston on this one. I'm going Houston on this one. Houston's used to playing, and Pittsburgh is not necessarily – they're nowhere near the talent that Baltimore and Kansas City are. I'm saying Houston's going to get their first win.
Pittsburgh.
Okay.
I'm going Pittsburgh. I know Deshaun Watson is good. I knew he was going to have a tough time against that defense of the Ravens. Now you're going into Pittsburgh, where that's not always an easy place to play. Big Ben is back as well. Yeah, I'm going Pittsburgh.
Well, you know, the difference in these games, though, is they say home field advantage, but home field advantage only deals with the crowds. There's no crowds. So this particular going into Pittsburgh is going to be a hard place to play in. There's no crowds. So it's not necessarily a home field advantage. I think Houston will pull this off.
Okay. I'm going to stick with Steelers.
This will be my upset for the
Steelers.
week. Mm-hmm. The New York Football Jets, not Giants, versus the Indianapolis Colts. Okay. New York is the Jets are 0-2, and the Colts are 1-1. Jets lost to San Francisco 31-13 last week, and they lost to Buffalo first week of the game, first game of the season. And Indianapolis actually got their first win last week against Minnesota. So Indianapolis lost to, this is something here.
Okay.
The Colts lost to Jacksonville, 20-27. Wow.
Okay. The Colts.
Yeah.
I haven't had a chance to see them play with Phillip Rivers yet.
Remember, they still got T.Y. Hilton too.
Where's this game at?
This is in Indianapolis. So remember how Dante used to do? This is an indoor stadium going to an outdoor stadium. Or this is an outdoor stadium going to an indoor stadium.
All right.
The Jets play outdoors, the Colts play indoors. For that fact, I'm going Indy. Because they're playing Indianapolis. They're playing in Indianapolis.
Y'all stick with the Colts. I stick with the Colts on that one.
All right. The 0-2 Carolina Panthers without Christian McCaffrey against the Chargers.
Where?
It's in LA.
This is going to be hard to pick because Coach Anthony Lynn has not. He said Tyrod Taylor is going to be the starter, and he came out and said that Justin Herbert is a backup for a reason, even though he played pretty good this past Sunday. That's the tricky part about it because
you don't think he's sold on Tyrod Taylor?
We're not sure if he's going to stick with Tyrod Taylor, even though he said those comments. Who are the Chargers playing again?
They are playing. Okay, I just had that. The Chargers are playing Carolina, the Panthers.
In Carolina?
No, it's in LA. Now let me give you his background. They lost to the Kansas City Chiefs in overtime, 23-20. And they beat the first game of the season. They beat Cincinnati 16-13. I'm going to Chargers. I'm picking the Chargers on this one. Carolina is without Christian McCaffrey. And that's their offense.
I just don't know who the quarterback is going to be for the Chargers. I'll go with San Diego. LA, I mean.
Yeah, LA Chargers. Yeah, I'm going LA too. Because I don't think Carolina has anything without McCaffrey.
Okay.
Detroit at Arizona. the 0-2 Detroit Lions at the 2-0 Arizona Cardinals.
Yeah, I'm going
That's easy.
Cardinals all the way.
Yeah, that's easy for me.
Cardinals all the way.
Yeah. All right. The 1-1 Tampa Bay Buccaneers versus the 0-2 Denver Broncos.
Buccaneers.
Yeah, that was easy for me too. All right. The 2-0 Green Bay Packers versus the 1-1 New Orleans Saints. It's in New Orleans. And Aaron Rodgers is hot. Aaron Rodgers is hot. But let's see who's been hot against. What games he so they played Green Bay 42-21. Okay, that's easy. No. Green Bay played Detroit. And they beat them 42-21. And in first game of the season, I think they beat Minnesota. So he's been hot versus some sorry teams.
I'm going the Saints.
I was going to say the same thing. Yep, I was going to go the same thing because Brady ain't going to have – he's not going to have this again, the breakdown again.
No.
He's not going to have this type of breakdown again. And Sean Payton ain't going to let him have it again. 2 games left. We're going to do the Monday night game first. I think it's going to be the game of the first quarter. Kansas City at Baltimore. 2-0 Kansas City Chiefs. Ooh. And remember the Chiefs.
This is in KC?
No, this is in Baltimore.
Oh man.
Now the Chiefs took out Houston, but they barely beat the Rams. I mean the Chargers. And that game went to overtime. And Baltimore has been taking care of business regardless. Baltimore beat where they at? Baltimore beat Houston 33-16. That was last week.
Mm-hmm.
And in the first game of the season, they played. Who they played? First game of the season, Baltimore played Cleveland, beat them 38-6. So they've not had a lot of competition, but they've taken care of business when they had to. Scoring 30 points in both of the games, not allowing over 20 points in either one.
I am going Baltimore.
I was going to say, thank me. I think Baltimore I think the Chiefs get their first loss of the season. Because Baltimore is not playing. Now, the breakdown game of this week would be the Dallas Cowboys at the 1-1 Dallas Cowboys at Seattle 2-0. The 2-0 Seattle Seahawks. Now, we've said this before. Every time Dallas and Seattle plays, Dallas plays them tough. We always say this is the lay down game. We always come back away and say, okay, yeah, Seattle, go ahead and take them. Because I've always came away. I don't think I've ever picked Seattle. I don't think I've ever picked Dallas to beat Seattle. While they wind up beating them, I've never picked them to beat them. And the way Russ Wilson's playing, I don't think I'm going to start that now either. They beat New England 35-30, which would wind up being a good game. After the first half interception that he threw, it was close after that. And then the week before that, they played. Who did they play the week before that? They played. And it's a 3:00 game too, so that's always good when the Cowboys got 3:00. They played Atlanta and beat Atlanta 38-25.
Mm-hmm.
And you see Atlanta put up 39 points on us.
Right.
Now, and they've scored 30 points every game. So you got 38 and then 35. So they're a high scoring team.
I'm going Seahawks.
Yeah, I'm thinking so too. Now they're a high scoring team, but they are also giving up points too. And I don't see anything in the Cowboys' arsenal that would keep Russell Wilson off the field. Unless they drive the ball, move the ball downfield slowly, take that running game, take off 7 or 8, minutes, per possession, and then score after you're taking off. That's the only way you're going to be. You're going to be Seattle, because you got to keep Russell Wilson off the field. If you keep him off the field, then you got a chance. But you can't give up these big old long. You can't give up these big long touchdown passes. Just can't do it. And you can't. You got to be. The defense got to have some 3 and outs. The only way they beat Seattle, they've got to have 3 and outs. And I just don't see it right now. I do not see it right now. So I'm gonna go Seattle on this one right here.
Yeah, Seattle for me. I mean, Russell Wilson against our defense is not a match.
And the other thing is they use the middle, so Cowboys middle stays open. He can pick you apart as long as your receivers are sitting down in the middle, and their defense leaves that middle wide open. And all Russell Wilson's gonna do is just dump it to the middle, and he's just gonna keep picking them apart. I don't see, unless it's something I'm not seeing. I'm Seattle on this one right here.
Yeah, I'm going Seattle.
All right, so those are our picks for this week. And now you reserve the right to change them up until.
I know I'm gonna change. I know I'm gonna change mine. No way.
Now, unless I don't either. But if a injury report comes out, let's say the injury report comes out and Patrick Mahomes hurt his hand, or Lamar Jackson in practice got turf toe now, so he won't be playing. But we found that out Thursday. And I'd probably change my pick.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so those are our picks for today. By the way, I think the reason why Shelly got all those picks right because it was her birthday. So here's what we need to do. When it's not her birthday, we do our picks. Yeah, we pick when it's not her birthday week. When it's her birthday week,
know what she's saying? She's lucky. She just lucked out.
Yeah. It was her birthday week, so she got them all right. It's not her birthday week now. Let's see what she does. Any kind of breaking news? Well, since we got a little time, the Stars.
It's delayed.
The Stars are in the they're in the finals. Where they getting ready to play them. Who are they playing? Tampa Bay now. So that's one team we got. And when the Stars first went to the Stanley Cup Finals and won, the Cowboys were in their Super Bowl heydays. This might be a good sign.
Yeah.
I just had to put that out there. So it might be a good sign. And then Luka got all basketball, first team all basketball, which he's the first player in Mavericks history to do it this early in his stint as the Mavericks.
Oh, okay.
So those little Cowboy little sports updates, and the Rangers are still sorry. The Rangers are bad at 2-14.
Oh my! As a team, oh my God!
As a team,
I really looked
First,
at the Rangers this year, but man, I know they're doing real bad.
yeah, the worst they've ever batted as a team was in 1976 when they batted 219.
Man, that's a long time ago.
And so in order for him not to bat below 219, they would have to have 9 hits for these last 6 games. In order for them to bat 9 hits a game for these last 6 games, they're not gonna do it. They're gonna be at 214, 215, around 214, 215. Then we can say we've witnessed the sorriest Ranger team in Ranger history. So we've got a lot of witnessing. We witnessed some of the sorriest Maverick games or Maverick teams, some of the sorriest Cowboy teams when Cowboys went 1-15. Now the sorriest Ranger team. We might as well batting 1,000, aren't we?
I know. Yes, that really sucks. I was really rooting for the Rangers, but I mean, with them batting the way they have, it's atrocious. It's bad.
Mm-hmm. It's pitiful.
Bad.
And the bad part about it is the World Series is going to be played here in Arlington. So the only way the Rangers can get to the World Series is they get a ticket. Yeah, so we can actually cut this one short.
Okay.
Yeah, unless you got anything else.
That's it for me. It was good to be back on the air for sure.
Yeah. So next week we'll plan on 2 hours. Just 2 hours. We'll talk about everything Cowboys, everything Rangers. If the Stars are still, well, they won't be still in, but if they won a Stanley Cup, okay. We got to get back into basketball. The Lakers could go up 3-1, which how the Clippers tanked. I don't understand it, but they did. You know how Denver came back to beat the Clippers. They're down 3-1, came back and won. So we'll talk about that. We'll dive into sports next week.
Yes, sir.
And college football is back.
Yeah, that's gonna be different. That's gonna be a different field. That's one other league that has. We'll just have to see with that because of college campuses and universities and all that good stuff. We just have to see how that works. I mean, this pandemic really has everybody on their toes, to be honest with you. But we just have to see with that in terms of college football.
Well, one college note: Jackson State has hired Deion Sanders to be the coach.
Oh my goodness! I don't know what to.
And have you heard who his some of his coaches? Have you heard some people that's gonna? All right, so listen to these names. Let's see something here. You have Warren Sapp is going to coach the defensive line.
Mm-hmm.
T.O. is coaching the wide receivers. Are you with me now? T.O. is coaching wide receivers.
Oh, boy.
Dennis Thurman Thieves. Remember Dennis Thurman?
Yes.
They got him coaching the defense coordinator. I mean, they got him as a defense coordinator. Mario Edwards is coaching the DBs. Remember Mario Edwards?
Yes.
He's coaching the DBs. Let's see who else they got. Now, and what's so crazy about it is this was reported by Clarence. Well, no, either Jean-Jacques or Clarence Hill reported this.
Oh
so
my God.
it may have some merit to it. But his coaches are collected a collection of what do I call it? Ball hoggers. How would you say it? Limelighters, wanting the limelight. His coaches are a collection of people that want the limelight.
I'm no comment from me. I got to see how this gonna work.
Oh no, hold on. And did you see how he was introduced as a Jackson State head coach?
Yes,
They had the band.
I saw the SUV come in, all the lights on and stuff. That's prime time.
But that's a sign that it's gonna get worse before it get better. That's just a sign that it's going to get worse before it gets better. Because if you're a coach, you don't need all that hoopla, right? Just walk in, do your press conference, and walk out. You don't need all that hoopla. And then you got the TOs coming to coach. What do you think TO gonna do when he don't get the ball? When his receivers don't get the ball?
I know. Yeah, I hope that won't be a mess or turn into a mess.
All this is one of those publicity stunts I think he's doing. That's all it is. Because how much you think these coaches getting paid?
I don't know, man. It's going to be interesting, but having people on your team that love the limelight, I just don't know how that's going to work.
Yeah, I know. That's going to look crazy because all of them want the limelight. Let's see if I find anything else on this. Now he said they shot down a report about the coaching staff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but this is saying they add TO to the coaching staff. Yeah, Warren Sapp. And in Warren Sapp, is he in jail or didn't he get out of jail?
I don't know. I haven't really heard from him a lot lately.
Let's see here. Yeah, they've got Jason Phillips.
Jason Phillips.
Yeah, as the offensive coordinator.
Okay.
I don't know who that is. Yeah, Jason Phillips is the offensive coordinator. You got Terrell Owens is the wide receiver coach. Warren Sapp is the defensive line coach. Dennis Thurman is the defensive coordinator. Mario Edwards Sr. as defensive backs coach. The holdover is going to be T.C. Taylor and Otis Ridley, and that they're also on staff. And yeah, it's going to be a mess.
Yeah,
it's going to be a mess. The over under is how many games you think they're going to win this year?
9.
9?
Yeah.
You think Jackson State is going to win 9 games this year? Huh?
Oh,
you said 9 or none?
No, they're going to win some games. They'll probably win some games. Yeah, they're going to win some games. I ain't going to never say 0.
I ain't going to say 0, but
well, he just got hired, so just give him time, Miss Woman. Well, we have to see how all this planned out. We're too early, jumping on this way too early.
Well, yeah, because they don't play until
I don't want to say
spring.
too much on it. Let's see in the next 4 weeks how this gonna come out.
Yeah, they don't play until the spring anyway, so they won't start playing until the spring. All right, we'll stay tuned.
Yeah.
All right, well, this has been 411 Sports Talk Radio, ForumRadioNetwork.com. I'm the bench warmer. Got the professor here. Check back with us next week, and we will see if we cannot take down security and all of her antics. This is not her birthday week, so she may not have a good game. All right, we will. All right, this is 411 Sports Talk Radio, ForumRadioNetwork.com. We are out.
We're out.